Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope that you can hear me. This is Faisal from English Language Center, uh, University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Every Oman. We'd like to uh, welcome you all and welcome our guest speaker, Roy Anderson. And just I want to introduce him to you. Um, Roy Anderson is the principal of Kingston College, Lahore, and Pakistan, and a recognized global educational expert with nearly 40 years in the development of the school system. He has a personal following of 40,000 educationalists around the world and is much praised for his many years of scientific research into what intelligence is and how to improve the operation of the school and how the teachers can teach better. Roy is an expert in intelligence, a specialist in Beatrice conductive education for disabled children and a trained deaf and blind teacher. He is the inventor of the brain environment complex theory, which presents a new concept to what intelligence is and how children learn. Today, I think Roy is going to talk about two topics. Right, Roy?
Well, yes.
Yes. The first one is the art of critical thinking, and the second one is also related to this. So I will leave the mic to you, Roy. Please welcome Roy, and the mic is yours.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum and good morning or good evening, everybody. My name is Roy Anderson. As Faisal introduced, I'm dedicated to education for 40 years. The topic we're going to talk about now is very, very important, critical thinking. And I want to open a new perspective that will help us to be able to raise critical thinking skills in our children. Before we begin, I would like to introduce a colleague of mine, Irina. Irina is a very good English language teacher at all levels. She works in the university. And if anybody would like help with English or guidance, you're very welcome to contact her tutoring at preciseenglish.uk. She's excellent. She's very, very patient. She's a natural teacher, and she's extremely well qualified. Okay, Faisal, can you move to the next screen, please? Go up. Faisal. Hello, Faisal. Faisal. I can't control the slides.
Wait. I will.
Okay. So as Faisal pointed out, I've been working on this for nearly 40 years. I'm going to share some of the thoughts I have with you now. Faisal, the next screen, please. Critical thinking. Why do we fail? Critical thinking means to think critically. It's a very, very important topic, perhaps the most important one that we teach in school. Faisal,
Mr. Ro, please, can you raise your voice?
Roy, could you please raise your voice, Roy?
Okay, I'll try. I'm shouting. Is that clearer? Is that clear? I'm shouting, my friend. Okay. So when we think about critical thinking, we think about how to analyze, how to reason, how to evaluate, how to solve a problem, and how to make a decision. When we do this, we help children to make different skills. We seek different responses, and we encourage them to ask the questions what, who, where, when, why, and how. But each student varies in how they think and use these. Faisal, the next. Okay.
Mr. Ro, please, we cannot hear you well.
I'm shouting, my brother. I'm shouting very clearly. Okay, I will continue as much as I can. But critical thinking is most simply, number one, to have confidence to believe in yourself. Number two, an interest to explore. and developed through feedback. And thirdly, to have the confidence to challenge the thoughts of others, especially the teacher of authority. What we need to grasp here, so Faisal, just one moment, please. So why do students fail to have an interest, fail to have self-confidence? Faisal. The purpose of school is not to teach how to think, and not to develop confidence to contest, but to comply. If we're going to deal with critical thinking, we have to go to the root of the problem. Because the purpose of school is not to teach children how to think, it is to cause them to be compliant with information. School today works on a 19th century political ideology to create the manager and the managed, and it uses strategies in society and in school to ensure that children progress through it according to their effort and their self-discipline, which are social factors. Faisal, the next. So we teach what to learn, but not how to learn. Faisal? So how does school really work? Faisal? It works on the survival of the fittest. The more effort and the more you can control distractions by self-discipline, the more you succeed. Now, these are two social factors. So school is a funnel system to see who can do what job. Next, Faisal. You can see here the basic idea of a classroom is to put a lot of children in front of one teacher. The teacher gives information, the children respond, the teacher evaluates. There is little teaching here. It is a question of the students teaching themselves, which is relying upon the home organization and the self-discipline they've got. The purpose of school is to put 50 kids into one class and to find out after 12 years of education who will be the professional class, who will be the managing class, and who will be the working class. That's what school is. Now, since the 1960s, we've been trying to change this, but we failed because we don't understand how school works and what it works on. Faisal, can you go to the next one, please? You see, school works on language skills. It does not work on intelligence. The work that I've done proves to me that intelligence is not genetically inherited. You see, school performance is based on two languages, English or Russian, Arabic, whatever it happens to be, and mathematics. A language is based on rules. In English, this is the rules of spelling, grammar, sentence construction, and essay composition. In mathematics, is the rules to transpose numbers. Faisal? Okay, so we have the rules of mathematics. So you can see an equation, 6 divided 2 plus 1. Now let's look at two students here to see how they solve them. The first student, Faisal. Okay, now the first student, he was distracted from the rule. He didn't hear the rule of how to work with the equation. All he heard was do the brackets first. So this student looks at the bracket, 2 plus 1 is 3. And he uses logic. Well, 2 times 3 is 6. And so 6 divided by 6 is 1. Now, it's wrong, but he doesn't understand why it's wrong because he didn't follow the rule. Faisal? Now, the rule for this is called BODMAS, of course, which you do the brackets first, and then according from the left, you do the division, multiplication, arithmetic, and subtraction, addition, subtraction. Now, if the student follows the rules, first of all, they do the brackets, 2 plus 1. Then they do the division, 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then they use the rule for BODMAS, multiplication. So they get 3 times 3 is 9. The point I'm emphasizing here is that this has got nothing at all to do with intelligence. Those students are equally intelligent, but one was distracted and one was focused. And this is the essence of what education is about. Faisal, can you go to the next one? Now, the rules of English or Russian or Arabic, they're basically the same. The student has to learn the rules of how to spell a word. They have to learn the rules of sentence construction, syntax, and they have to learn the rules of how to tell their story, the way they explain their mind. This is fundamental. And we fail very much in this in school. You can see here this very simple example. One child writes, "The sun is yellow." Another child writes, "The sun is big, yellow, and hot." You will know who will get the higher mark. And it's basically language. That's all it is. Faisal? Now, let's look at an example here. We see two students. We see Peter and Anna. Now, what happens here is the teacher asks them to write a composition. So, Faisal? So Peter, he looks at the question. He starts to write from his heart. After a few lines, he gets stuck. He waits for an idea and adds this to what he's written. And when Peter's finished, he puts his hand up because he wants to show the teacher that he finished first. Because Peter thinks that if the teacher thinks he finished first, he'd be the best student. Now we look at what Anna does. Faisal. You see, Anna looks at the question very carefully, and she says, "What is the question asking me to do?" Then she has a scheme. She knows in her mind what the best way to give this answer. She decides on a goal, and then she decides on sub-goals. In her mind, she has a track. She knows where she's going. She's moving along a line. Then she starts to write. She writes her introduction very carefully. And she writes the main text, points 1, point 2, point 3, point 4. And then she gives her conclusion, the ending. Now, two things that Anna does here that Peter didn't do. She thinks about how to sell her story. She puts great emphasis on the ending, but most importantly, she checks. She checks everything. She goes over spelling, punctuation, and she does not give that paper back until she's completely finished with all her questions. Anna has developed a great proficiency that Peter never did. Faisal? Okay, so you see, all school learning is based on rules. When a student has not been taught these rules very well, they do not know how to think in school. This blocks their creativity and their self-confidence. And developing critical thinking is dependent upon the creativity of the mind of the student and their belief in the self-confidence to inquire and engage with other people. So if we're going to develop critical thinking, we've got to teach the basic rules of the two languages that school works upon. Faisal? NASA did a test on 1,600 students. What they found out was before these kids started school, 98% of them showed a genius quality in the responses they gave. 5 years after starting school, this dropped to 30%. And 10 years after starting school, this dropped to 12%. When all these students left school, only 2% still had a genius quality. We have to ask why. What did we do wrong in school? Faisal? The truth is, when we fail to teach them the rules of language better, we take away their confidence to explore because they are confused to know what to do next. Faisal? So they guess and make a mistake, or they don't move because they lack the confidence to believe in their ability. They do not believe in their ability. Faisal? I made here a schema. You can see the rules. If you learn the rule in black and you don't learn the rule and you don't practice in red, which 98% of kids in every class do not, this is what happens. When you learn the rule and you practice the rule, you can negotiate through a learning task. When you don't learn it, when you're distracted, then you feel lost in the learning task. You don't know how to think. When you do learn, you have high confidence. When you don't, you have little confidence. When you do learn the rule, you're interested to explore by themselves. When they don't learn the rule, as 98% of kids or students do not, they become dependent on others guiding them. This is fundamental to understand. Faisal? So when they know the rule, they will interact more and share thoughts more because they're more competent. When they don't learn the rule, they'll be more passive. When they learn the rule, they're interested to remember knowledge and they develop good memory strategies. When they don't learn the rule, they're little interested and develop poor memory strategies. When they do learn the rule, they develop better neural efficiency. Their brain works better. When they don't learn the rule, they'll be more casual in how they identify with information. When they learn the rule, they'll feel inspirational. When they don't learn the rule, they have no interest in the subject. When they do learn the rule, they're more creative, will carry the skills into other subjects, and develop high academic performance. When they don't learn the rule, they think the subject is boring and they have little interest. Now, everything we teach in school is based upon rules. From the moment the child enters a school at grade 5, they're told the rule is sit down, you must put your hand up if you want to go to the bathroom, you must hold the rule is you must hold the paper this way, the rule is you must hold the pen this way, the rule is how you transcribe a letter. Everything is rules. And the problem that we've got is that children are confused, they are frightened, and they're bored in the classroom. So they don't listen, they don't focus to the rules. When they don't listen to the rules, you can see they lack the confidence to believe in themselves and the interest in the subject. So if we're going to develop critical thinking, we've got to really understand how we fail in education to teach them. Faisal?
Roy, just give me just a couple of seconds, because it's a little distracting, my dinging. Okay, let me.
You can just actually go to the chat at the left side and then just click the mute.
Yeah, I will. Just I want to do one thing. Just,
Faisal?
yes, yes. Now, yeah, now. Yeah. Yes, you can go. Go ahead, please.
Let's go to the next slide. Okay. Develop a creativity in your students. If they follow the rule, they have good working knowledge of the language. They have confidence to explore. They have confidence to ask questions, and teaches them to question information, inspires inventiveness, and raises creativity. So if we're going to develop a more critical thinking mind of the student, we've got to understand that their insecurity lies because they don't understand what they've learned. They didn't learn the rules. So it's very important for us as educationists to understand how to teach the rules better. And this applies from kindergarten right through to university. Rules is everything. It's how to order your mind in a certain way so you know how to deal with information and how to present your thoughts to another person. Faisal, can you go on? The next picture, please. But here, very simple illustration. We have two students here, and the teacher is showing them how to write a letter A. Now the little girl is very happy. She loves the teacher and she wants to be like the teacher, so she wants to do her A the best way she can. She concentrates on what she's doing. Now the little boy is happy, but his mind is thinking about the break. In the break, he wants to go and play football. So his mind is not concentrating on what he's doing. He's thinking of the A, football, the A, who's got the ball, the drawing the letter A, who's going to be in my team. All these thoughts are confusing or distracting him from what he's doing. Now, at the end of the lesson, the teacher will say, great, everybody's done the A their way. Next lesson, we'll move on to the B. The problem is that for this boy, his A will be seen as his ability. And next lesson and next year, this will be his ability in what he does. We need to understand the importance of getting the children to focus and to concentrate on what they're doing. Faisal? Now, in my work, I've studied neurology and genetics and things like that. And I suggest to you that it is the brain, it is the mind, not the brain, which determines how well a student keeps up with the rules of academia. You see, the mind is always asking itself two questions. Number one, am I safe? And number two, what is the most interesting thing for me? So for the mind of the student in education, am I safe at home? Are my parents happy? Are they loving? Or are they fighting? Are they arguing? And if the mind is not safe at home, then the student is trying to deal with that home problem instead of focusing upon the rule. Am I safe in the class? Now, the classroom is a very competitive environment. Students are always trying to be better than each other. And therefore, some students will feel not safe. They'll be intimidated, bullied. They'll be nervous. They'll be rejected. And when they are not safe in the class, then they're thinking about how to be safe with their peers, with their colleagues, instead of focusing very clearly on what they're doing. And thirdly, if the teacher uses authority instead of kindness. Sorry, Faisal, go back, please. Faisal, hello, thank you. No, Faisal, go back, yeah. So if the teacher uses authority, then the student will feel, I am not safe with the teacher, and how can the teacher like me better? When the mind of the student is not safe in home, in the class, or with the teacher, they're not focusing upon the rule. And as you see, when they don't focus on the rule, they don't to think very well when they're doing the subject. Now, the second part is, what is the most interesting thing for me? If the teacher does not know how to present the information to the level of development of every student in their class in the most interesting, fun way, then this is not the most interesting thing for the student. Then they are bored, then they think about something else, a game to play, a movie to watch, a boy and girl, whatever it happens to be. So if the mind of the student is not safe and is not interested in what they're doing, then the brain develops casual learning strategies. It's as simple as this. It's got nothing to do with intelligence. So Faisal, go to the next picture, please. Now, this bell curve is supposed to represent intelligence. It doesn't. But what I'd like to explain to you is that on the right-hand side, you can see there are a few who are very clever. But these are actually the least confused because they've kept up with the rules. They know how to think and they know how to explain their mind. So they have confidence in themselves. These are the high students. Now, the light blue, these are the ones who are generally confused. You know, students don't want to go to school. They have to go to school. They have to sit in the classroom, and most often they're bored and distracted. So they're generally confused with what's happening in any subject at any level. And the red, well, these are the students who are most confused. They came to school with a poor language skill, or they developed some behavioral personality problem in the school and they got lost and they didn't keep up. So what I'm explaining to you here is that any normally born child can obtain very, very high grades in school if we realize the importance of teaching them the rules and inspiring them to want to learn. Faisal, can you go to the next picture, please? Now, the following classroom encourages students to ask, what is this? What should I do? In the beginning of this talk, I explained to you that we work on a 19th century political ideology to create managers and managed. Now, those who develop very well in the school system, those are the ones who go to university. In university, they are taught how to think because they're given more responsibility in society and industry. The ones who don't go to university, they are not taught how to think in school. They go to college or straight into work. So they are deprived of a higher thinking strategy. So in school just teaches them, what is this? What should I do? These questions cause the student to be compliant to the teacher and the citizen to be compliant with the social manager and the manager in industry. It is a 19th century design based on the industrial age, which we still operate on today. So, Faisal. So, when the classroom is arranged in rows like this, the teacher is caused to give information and have very little contact with the students. The students themselves feel very conscious of other students around them, and so therefore they are nervous to ask the question to the teacher. They have no control over their learning. Faisal, sorry. So, you see, we have to move away from the idea of rows of desks, because the idea of rows of desks is that they condition the mind of the student to be less in control of information. Faisal? Now, the following classroom encourages students to think to themselves, why is this happening and how could this be better? Faisal? So this is the classroom of inquiry, and this is the basis of creating critical thinking in our students. So Faisal. Now you can see here how I've moved the desks in such a way that the teacher can have a personal one-to-one communication with every student. And because the students are arranged in this configuration, they feel that there are less students behind them laughing at them or ridiculing them, so they have more confidence to interrupt the teacher. This is fundamental to make this change. Faisal? Now, with a smaller class, you can have this kind of configuration. And this is the ideal situation that we need to move into, because here the teacher is able to have a direct communication with every single student, give the student the one-to-one time, and the student has more confidence to interrupt the teacher because they're not seen as part of a crowd. So, Faisal. And I really ask you to, if you don't use this system, please do use it. And don't sit at the desk. You've got to be on your feet all the time. You've got to be moving around, talking to the students, getting a personal relationship, and encourage the students to question what is happening, not to accept information. This is what we've got to do to get students to stop accepting and to question information. Faisal. So to develop critical thinking, we must give students self-confidence and an interest to want to question. Faisal. Faisal. Now, on a neurological level, the word what lives in the cerebral cortex. But the word how and why, they live in the limbic system. Now, the brain develops through the information it uses. The more times it uses a word, the more the neurons connect with other neurons to create a network of information. So the brain thinks in a certain way according to the information it has used. So if we cause students to use the word what is this, sir? What shall I do, ma'am? What can I do? I don't understand. Then the brain becomes more dependent upon waiting for information. This is not critical thinking. But if we develop in the limbic system the word how and why, then the limbic system will develop greater neural configuration. And therefore, this will be dominant for the mind. Therefore, the mind will think more about how should I do this? Why do I want to do this? This is fundamental. So Faisal, the next one. So if we develop these words of how and why in the mental language of our children and give them their space to use these and the confidence to use them, they will develop higher skills of reason and interaction. Faisal. 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 So you see, schools need to create a new model citizen for the future. A lot of the talks I give in conferences emphasizes the need to prepare our children for a world that will be very different from the ones that we know today. Their world will be dominated, if not controlled, by artificial intelligence, and have many social factors due to the rising incidence of the effects of global warming. Our children will live in a world very different from ours, and we need to give them a higher way of thinking to be able to be more competent in the world they will live in. And critical thinking is the way to do this. But many people don't understand that critical thinking relies upon simply the student having confidence to believing in themselves, having an interest to want to explore and to understand the feedback they get, and then to have the confidence to interrupt others and say, I don't think this is right. This is what I think. And if you use the classrooms that I've suggested, you will be able to do that far more. So, Faisal. So let's go back to analyze, reason, evaluate, solve a problem, and make a decision. Every single one of these relies upon what I've developed and what I call the art of sensitivity and awareness. I've written 8 books, and there are 2 books about this. The art of sensitivity and awareness means that you are very interested in what's happening. You concentrate, and you take this information very clearly into your mind, you connect it with past experiences, and you recognize instantly with a high quality the information you're processing. If you have a low quality of awareness, you're not interested or you're confused, then you take this information very vaguely into your mind, to the memory strategy. You don't see the connection, therefore you feel hesitant to give information to the teacher, and that makes you feel less confident. You don't believe in yourself. So in every process of analyzing, reason, evaluate, solve a problem, make a decision, it's relying upon the sensitivity that the student gives in how they handle information and how they present their mind. Faisal. Now, to begin this, it's a good idea to develop from practical interaction, hands-on. Now, when I was younger, I built a house, and I learned a great deal about critical thinking from building a house. I would have numerous problems: how to do this, how to do that, and how to do that, and I would think about them, and I would practically do them, make a doorway, make a window, whatever it happened to be, and then I would get a sense of confidence. Wow, I could do that. This is interesting. Therefore, I want to do more. So if you're going to develop critical thinking, try to engage the students in a practical interaction. I have a very good friend of mine in Hawaii, Robert Walker, who's developed a very good system with robotics. Now, he's found out that if he puts 2 or 3 students together in a group, they think, they plan what they're going to do. They put their attention to it. This is fun because they're doing something that has a purpose. They're going to create some kind of robotic machine. And by the design, by the resources, and by the way they construct it, they develop critical thinking. Now, once you develop it at a practical level, then you can go to higher evaluative thinking, where they're just reasoning about something that's being said. And as I said to you, it's fundamental that we help our students to question information, not just in school, but as a citizen in society, to question their information they're being given. And remember, school and society never wanted the general citizen to think too much. So, Faisal. So I call it the art of sensitivity and awareness. It's a theory I've developed. Faisal. So how well we teach students to use critical thinking is how well we prepare them to defend their democracy. It's as important as this. It is not just a question of teaching them to be able to be better thinking, It is teaching them to take control of the world in which they live. And it's very important that if we're going to teach them critical thinking, that we understand why we fail in this. We basically fail in this because we don't teach them the rules of the languages to a great proficiency. Faisal. Well, my name is Roy Anderson, and that's my email address, and anybody's welcome to write to me. I've developed attitude teaching, which is available on this website. I'm sorry if the signal was not very clear, and I'm very grateful to Faisal, my dear friend, for helping me with the slides. And my friends, please ask me any questions.
Okay, wait, Roy. Okay. Thank you, Roy, for your presentation. So please, guys, if you have questions, so you can raise your hand. I think that I'll stop sharing slide, and you can raise your hand. I think, Roy, can you see the hands raised?
Yeah, I can.
So you can ask them to unmute themselves and ask you the questions.
Okay, so my friends.
Munira, I think Munira, let's start Munira. Munira, can you help? Can you hear me, please, Munira? Could you unmute your mic, please, and ask your question? Munira, yes, Munira, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So somebody asked me how to buy my books. Thank you very much. The books are The Illusion of Education explains why we do not teach children how to think in school. The society never wanted the general citizen to think too much. We are raised on the idea that children are born with.
Hello, sir. Sorry. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, Munira.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, you can ask your question to Roy. Yeah.
So you can buy my books.
Sir, which method is useful to teach the students? Is it problem solving is very useful to all age of students?
Yes, problem solving is very important, but it's important to give them confidence in how to do this. Do you know Vygotsky's zone of proximal development, where you take them from what they know to what they don't. This is very important that you help them to understand what are you doing, what do you expect to happen, what do you think is going to happen, what do you expect to happen, what is happening, to help them to consciously think about what they're doing. Many children aren't raised this way. So problem solving is very good, but it's not just a question of here's a problem, you solve it. It is to teach them the steps by which they can solve it by themselves.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Muhammad Yassin. Could you please unmute yourself and ask your question, Muhammad? Muhammad Yassin. Can you hear me, please, Muhammad?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Sir, what is the good method to teach the university students? What is the effective method to teach the university students?
Brother, I think university students, they, you know very well, the big problem we've got with university students is their concentration, to get them focused to want to study. Some students have the drive and others don't, and they lose it very quickly. So with university students, we have to give them, we have to continually motivate them to have their purpose, to want to keep up, to have their purpose, to want to learn, and then to develop their language capability so they can express themselves better. And all this comes down to the art of sensitivity in the words. You help them to be very focused on what they're doing, how they analyze and how they process information.
Okay, thank you. iPhone guest, I don't know what's the name. Could you please unmute yourself and ask your question? And Roy, could you please check the noise from your side? Okay, iPhone guest, I
Uh,
don't know.
yes,
Yes.
yes, Faisal. Thank you so much. Thanks, Mr. Roy, for this wonderful presentation. And I'd like to ask you a question. You said that the mind, not the brain, is responsible for what we learn. I wanted to know what's the difference between the mind and the brain in your point of view.
It's a very, the answer, my friend, would take an hour to talk about. Basically, the brain is an organic function of neurons and synapses, which are driven into construction by the mind, the way the mind thinks. The mind, of course, there are different aspects of it. The mind is dealing with the personality, the identification of the person. Do people like me? Do people accept me? And if
Mute your mic.
Mr. Roy, I can't hear you well.
And Roy, could you please raise your voice, please, Roy?
yeah, I'm trying. I'm really shouting. I'm sorry.
Otherwise, you can use the headset. It's better to use headset or.
I don't have the batteries not charged up. The difference between the mind and the brain is the brain is an organic system dealing with chemical construction. It is given direction by the mind, and the mind is dealing with, first of all, the behavioral personality that the person exists in. Do people like me? Am I safe? Am I happy? And then the mind is trying to deal with what is interesting. So the mind guides the brain in how to make the constructions for the mind to be able to operate.
Mr. Roy, excuse me, still some ambiguity in the difference between the mind and the brain for me. Can you give me an example, please? I mean an example, a sentence, a situation in which there is a difference between mind and the brain.
Brother,
Even a sentence, for example.
Roy, please, before you answer, moderators, can you help me if you can mute others? Because it keeps dinging. Because if I mute all, Roy will be muted. Because he doesn't use our temporary account. So please, could you help me mute anyone or anyone who keeps the mic on? And please, anyone, if you ask the question, so mute yourself and then give the chance to Roy to answer. And if you want to speak, you can unmute yourself. Okay, Roy, now you can answer the question.
We have a limited time here, but basically think that the brain is physical structure. It is neurons and synapses physically connected. They are driven by a genetic plan and given interference by a stimulating plan. The mind is not physical. The mind lives within the brain, within the body, within every cell of the body. The mind is concerned, first of all, with the protection and survival of the identity of the individual. The mind then, so the mind is always thinking, am I safe? Am I right? And then what is the most interesting? Yeah? In a very simple sense. Write a book about it.
Okay, Norma, I think. Norma, yes, please.
Hi, thank you, Faisal. Thank you, Faisal. I hear you. Hi, Roy. Good morning. Yes, Roy, we truly understand, and everyone likes to, I personally like my students to do critical thinking all the time, but would you suggest that we do a direct instruction first of critical thinking together with its levels, at least before we start our own classes? Because I teach English and we follow a certain delivery plan. But I like my students to know what is critical thinking and how to do the different processes. Would you suggest that this should be done in a direct instruction manner? Because some of them, of course, may not know that these are the levels of critical thinking. They may be applying it actually, but they may not know what these are. So should we do a direct instruction of critical thinking? Thank you, Roy.
I think it was first of all, when I learned to think critically, I didn't have zones or stages. I just learned to think, how am I going to solve this? I would try to deal with it, and then I would get the feedback. Wow, I did it. That's great. I wasn't aware that I was doing thinking critically. You can go into students and say, first of all, you just need to analyze the information, then you need to reason about it, then you need to evaluate it, and then you deal with the problem solving, and then you explain your mind. But for young children, that becomes very complex. But I think depending upon the age of your students, yeah, okay. So I
teach the university level, Roy.
Okay. Well, in that case, yes, it's a very good idea to emphasize the different categories and help them to understand what this means, what this means, so they have a direction where they're going.
Roy, raise your voice a bit loud, please, Mick.
I'm shouting.
I know that you got the flu and you're very sick, and really we appreciate this. And because we have a lot of questions in the chat box, now I will ask my moderators to collect the questions to you.
But thank you very much, Roy. That was really very enlightening. Thank you very much, Roy. Really.
Please contact me on my email.
Okay, now Roy, can you go to the chat box, please? You see a lot of questions there. Please, can you see the chat box? And please collect the questions and you can answer them. And moderators, help us, please. The attendance link will not be seen right now, please. So please focus on the content. We'll send the link later because we have second speaker. Please try to focus on the presentation, on the content, and for the link. So we'll send it later in 50 minutes because we have a second speaker. Okay, Roy, can you see the questions?
Yes,
You can scroll up or scroll down. Okay. How to develop critical thinking? I think this question is from Azerbaijan. How to develop critical thinking?
Well, I just give a talk about
your voice is I don't know, you might check, it's not the voice itself. Check the things that from your side, I think.
How to develop critical thinking? It is first of all to give them confidence in itself, to have an interest in what they do, to evaluate the feedback they get, and to have the confidence to show their mind. This is basically what critical thinking is. You can divide that into different zones of the maybe system indicators, reason, evaluate, etc. But it is practice. It is to help them, first of all, to have hands-on experience to understand what they do, to get the feedback from them.
Okay, there is another question. Can you please explain how culture influences the seating arrangements in classrooms?
Well, this is very important. But I think that in regard to the culture, put the culture aside. The classroom is political. It's based on a political agenda. If we're going to overcome that, we need to realize that the idea of roles creates differences in ability. It causes students to have different aspirations, different abilities to interact. If you create a classroom, as I've shown you, where everybody's in a kind of a circle, then you change the. It's not culture, it's politics.
Roy, another question. Thank you, Rob, for sharing the books of Roy in Amazon. Now, there is a question how they can buy your books.
Okay, you can go to Amazon or you go to a bookshop, but please be careful on Amazon because I sell the books very cheaply, but there are bad people who put bigger prices on the books so they can make a lot of money. You shouldn't pay more than $15 for a hardback, $10 for a paperback. Some people are selling them for $40, $50. Be careful of that. But you can get them from my website, www.andersonroy.com. But just go into a bookshop and you can find out about them. Or Faisal, you can share my books.
I think Rob Howard has already shared them in the chat box.
Well, he's
Yeah.
he's a
Rob,
fantastic.
you know, hats off to you, Rob, for supporting us. Oh my God.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, there is another question also. We still have time, okay, to receive the second speaker. Okay, how can we promote critical thinking in mixed ability classes?
Well, in a sense, every class has a mixed ability because people come from different levels. If you're going, you could put the children into groups. So you can put them into groups where they have where those who are similar level of development can share thoughts and feelings. And remember, the most important thing is develop the self-confidence. If you develop the self-confidence within the student, they'll believe in themselves and they'll believe they can do anything. The problem with mixed ability is that students tend to role play to what people think they expect of them. So students underperform because they think that they are not worthy of a higher grade. So mixed ability, basically, it is to, okay, one idea is you can take you can divide them into groups of 4. You can put a higher ability down with a lower ability, with a higher ability having the responsibility to encourage those of lower ability to think better, to think more clearly, and they can be the teacher developing that, those of lower ability. It is all about, as I said to you, it's all about keeping up with what's happening, learning the rules, practicing them, keeping them up. And you know, every human being, they want to feel that they're good. We want to feel that we're liked, that we're loved, that we have success. And by the way, you know, Rob Howard is fantastic. I think he's the best teacher I ever met. He helped me so much. He's a great guy.
Okay, just actually, I didn't see a Bria question, but if you are Bria here, please, could you please say your question, please? Or can any one of the moderator help me to bring Bria's question? Bria, are you here, please?
Yes, Mr. Faisal. My question has already been asked by Michelle, I believe. I just wanted to know how culture influences the classroom seating arrangements, because the seating arrangements differ in each culture. So Mr. Roy was telling us that seating arrangements play a very important role in developing students' critical thinking. So I would request Mr. Roy to let us know how culture influences the seating arrangements. That was my question. Thank you, Mr. Vice.
I think that I don't think it is culture. I think it is the design of the school, the way the classroom is constructed, and basically it is rows. Especially if you go to Asian countries where they have 50 kids in a class, it is just rows and classes, rows and rows and rows and rows. And this comes back to it, as I said to you before, when the beginning of education. In the West or more developed countries, we've moved into other classes. Or For example, you can put kids in a group. You can have 5 or 6 children on one table. But I don't like this idea because it tends to cause one student to be superior and others to be inferior. I suggest that it is not cultural, but it is political understanding. Understand, please, that the idea of rows of classes is to create differences in ability for the differences in work capabilities students will move into after school. If we're going to equalize the ability of all children, then we have to give each child an equal opportunity to interact and to integrate with the learning process. And you can only do that with a U-shaped style that I showed you before. And it really makes a very big difference. I don't think it's culture. I think it's political.
Okay, I think there are no more questions. Roy? Yes, the moderators told me that no more questions. Okay, thank you very much, Roy.
Thank you, my friend.
For wonderful presentation, amazing. I mean, I don't know. I might ask a question now. So, what's wrong about critical thinking? So, how teachers can teach it for students in a simple way, in a more interactive way? Because I got the your question. So, what's wrong? What's wrong about critical thinking?
I'm losing the signal now. Okay, if we're going to teach children to be more critical in how they're thinking, we have to give them a purpose to want to learn something, to want to do something. And robotics is a great way of introduction. They have to design something, they have to look for the resources, and they have to construct it and test it, and then feedback and test it. It's causing them to check information. That's the beginning of changing the way the mind deals with information.
Okay, thank you, Roy, for your answers. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Now I'm waiting for second speaker. Jagan, are you here, please? Jagan. Jagan, are you here? I think till now he's not here. Just we are waiting him to log in. Jagan, can you hear me? So guys, we are waiting Jagan to log in. I don't know, maybe he has problems. There's one hand raised. I don't know. I think there is one hand raised. Okay, Stanley Sakala. Do you have a question, please, Sakala? Hello? Yes, Yasin, I think Yasin has a question because we are waiting, guys. We are waiting for the second speaker to log in. I tried to contact him by email, by WhatsApp. No response.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, Yasin, right?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much for the presentation. Well, I have one question regarding critical thinking. So we have always thought that critical thinking is only suitable for the higher level of students, like for advanced or intermediate or upper intermediate students. I'm just wondering, how would you use the critical thinking to the lower level students, especially for A1 and A2 level? Because I always face difficulties and challenges. What kind of activities and tips do you suggest to teach critical thinking to the lower level students? Thank you so much, Roy, for answering the question.
difference between the higher performers and the lower performers is two things. It is one. This is the difference between drive and purpose and who are kept up with information. The lower performers, as I've explained, they didn't learn the rules, therefore they don't know how to think, therefore they're confused in what's happening, therefore they don't believe they're any good. And that has many effects from that. So if you're going to deal with children or students who have lesser ability, it is to give them a sense of belief that they can do it. This is fundamental. Give them a sense of security and love and confidence, and give them smaller things so they can do something, they get a positive feedback that, wow, this is great, I can do that. And if you do that, you know, you won't have any differences in the classroom. You will develop the drive and ability of those. You know, as Faisal knows, I completely failed education when I was 17. I got 0 in everything. I was a terrible student. But back when I was 20, and I did phenomenally high. I was one of the best students. And the difference in me was that, one, I had a drive and a purpose, and I learned the rules. I learned to play the game. So if you've got a mixed ability class where some are really not performing very well, then you have to inspire them, which is what teaching is all about. It's inspiring them to want to learn, to believe that they can do something, and then give them small little tasks which are rewarding. And then you can make the tasks more complex, they get more reward, more complex, they get more reward. And you'll find that they'll zoom up. It's all about giving them love. That's what it is.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed for your very, very informative presentation. I'm speaking from Iran, and I'm teaching EFL at a university in Iran. And regarding critical thinking, which is very, very interesting topic, I want to ask you a question, considering my context, I mean Iranian context. As you know, for example, freedom of speech is not acceptable or is not allowable in our context. And material, I mean, learning material are prepared by Ministry of Education, I don't know, and they are very, very careful in creating tasks which are not against, I mean, the ideology of the country. So in this, I mean, in our context and in this situation, how can I develop my students' critical thinking? Because, you know, in other courses, I mean, in other subjects, teachers should follow I mean, learning materials which are written by Ministry of Education, and in those books and textbooks, we have no critical thinking, or other no tasks which are written based on critical thinking. So I myself, how can I do it? I mean, how can I develop this, critical thinking in my students?
Brother, I gave you an email. You can please write to me, and we can make a personal conversation on Zoom about this. Basically, I think it's true that almost every country in the world senses information to some degree for its own protection. Some of it's valid, some of it's not so. To develop critical thinking is just to cause the students to question information. Is this right? Could there be another source? You know, one of the biggest mistakes we create is we say to a student, go and make an assignment. So they go to Google, they type in some information, Google gives them a response, and they use that. They don't look for other versions of that information. They tend to accept the first version that's the most prominent. So causing your students to think critically is to get them to search for other people's opinions about a source of information, to compare. Okay, you got this, but this man says differently. Why do you think? Why are they different? Why is this man saying this? Why is this man saying this? Evaluate the differences in the information they give. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Your email address, Roy?
Sorry, I can't hear. I can't hear you. Hello?
I mean, Roy, would you please write your email address in the chat box? Okay, thank you. Anderson. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Okay, I will send you an email. Thank you. Bye bye.
Roy, there is a question in the chat box. As elementary teacher, how can I apply critical thinking for reading classes during the online teaching?
Online teaching is very difficult because we lack this personal communication where we can inspire them with a persona. They're distracted from this personal relationship. Critical thinking for online reasoning. So you can, you can ask them to read something and read another. They can be stories, just a simple story. One story tells, you can create a story. You can write a story, for example, okay, it's raining and the two children are walking in the rain. One runs for cover under a tree, one goes into a hut for shelter. Which is the better choice, and why is it a different choice? Use your imagination. Create two scenarios to one story, and ask the children to evaluate what they think is the better one. It's the beginning to question information, not just to accept it. To begin to think, are there other possibilities? Could this happen? Could that happen? It's the beginning.
I think Roy can see the hand. There is one hand from Gladina, right? Gladina.
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, I want to tell you that we can have.
Tell me, Roy.
Suppose if it is a comprehension passage, we can ask the students to frame their own questions, which will improve their. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah. We can ask the children to frame their own questions and exchange it with their peers to develop critical thinking about the passage or the story or the lesson that they have read. The other one what can be done is we can ask them to give a different ending or a revamp to the story.
Yeah, this is very good. But Galina, we can take that to a different level. I mean, you look at the Finnish model in Finland, where the students design their own
they design their own curriculum.
Yeah, from the very beginning. I mean, they're then interactive, they're involved in the processing, the decision making in grade 1. This is very good. Of course, they need guidance, but this idea of maturity, teaching the children to be competent and have maturity.
Independent learners, yeah.
It's very good. That's a good
and
question.
Also, if it is a maths class, we give the students the tables as such, and then ask them to think about what is common in table 3 and what is common in table 9 and what is common in table 6. So they arrive to a conclusion as to how there is a commonality between these 3 tables. The repetition of numbers in the 1st place and 10th place.
Yeah, but Galina, the biggest problem we have is that we too readily accept the responses we get. We too readily accept that this girl knows that it is better to give the information and this boy is less able. And we accept this because we are raised and educated on the concept that we inherit differences in ability. We do not. Every normally born child has the ability to proceed very highly in education if they, as I've explained before, if they are able to focus, not distracted, and have a drive. But generally, teachers, we don't know that. We see a class of children, we teach them something. We notice that this girl is better than this boy, and that's it.
Yeah, we must have an open-ended mind when we enter the class so that we give equal opportunity to all the students. And we can throw our questions to the students where we can encourage their critical thinking on a common platform. The outcome depends on each student at what level they comprehend things. But we as a teacher should throw questions on a common platform irrespective of the capacity or the ability of the student. Is it right, Mr. Roy?
Well, I would question what capacity I believe that every human being is born normal. So they don't have a chromosomal mutation or some kind of birth process. But every child has the ability to look the way they think and respond to the world about them. And that depends upon the environment in which they're raised. The biggest problem that we've got is how to deal with a massive kids all at the same time. And if you use this kind of an open classroom arrangement, as I've indicated, you'll find that the students are more able to feel they're responsible to connect with you.
I think, Roy, there is a question from Ikram. Just please go to the chat box and see the question. I think like a comment and questions.
Is it a tool that could be one direction that Dr. Mustafa Amiri asked the question, is critical skill or ability some sort of knowledge? Should it be taught, learned, or developed? I think that everything is a skill. I think that we all develop skills in how we interact with the world around us, depending upon how we emotionally feel. If we feel secure, if we feel less secure, that causes us to interact more. So to me, everything is a skill.
There is a question from I think the moderator copy it for you. And please check your voice. They could not hear your voice. The question is in the chat box, Roy. How could we best balance between the high and lower order students all developing critical thinking in them? And how could best design and plan the best material for the students of history class?
I find out that if you can inspire a low performer to believe in themselves and to want to learn, and you give them a little bit of help and a bit of love, then they can catch up with the high performers within a couple of weeks, not months. So for me, there is no difference. These are not fixed, You can get a low performer come very high, you get a high performer can drop if they're affected by some circumstances in life. So it's just a question that when you're looking at, they have developed a particular competence based upon how well they interacted with oral lessons. So use this open plan arrangement of a class I talked about. Try to deal with them individually. Give them scenarios to work with. and help each one to feel that they're good at what they're doing. This is important. Let them feel that a success, and they will love you for it.
Okay. Any other questions, moderator? Jagan, are you in, Jagan? Dr. Jagan, can you hear me? Because you are using your personal account. Jagan? Dr. Jagan? Because back 20 minutes, he tried to connect and I don't know, he faced a lot of problems. Dr. Jagan? He informed me that, okay, how to improve critical thinking skills.
Sorry, were you asking me
how to improve critical thinking skills?
In the talk, I explained the importance of sensitivity in awareness. Being sensitive in what you're thinking about is not to be distracted by something else. If you're sensitive, if you listen very carefully, if you read very carefully, and you're focusing on what's happening, then this information is coming very precisely into the memory networks, where it's relating to information that was stored with the same precision, so you recognize instantly what's happening. Then you evaluate the information. If you're distracted, if you're not sure what you're doing, if you don't believe in your ability, and most students do not, because I've explained why, they don't interact very carefully. They're not monitoring information. They're scanning it too quickly, or they're half listening. They're phantom listening. And therefore this information is going in, connected with other information in the memory networks that was previously stored with the same confidence. Therefore they don't really see the connection, and they tend to guess what they're doing. To develop competence in critical thinking, it is to be more aware of the effort that you're giving, and be more aware of the result that you get.
Dr. Jagan, are you here? Because you are using your personal account, I cannot recognize you. Dr. Jagan? He sent me Okay, guys, just we are waiting for a couple of minutes. I think Roy is very tired. You can send questions to his email. We'll wait just a couple of minutes. I don't know. He told me he's here. I don't know. Dr. Jagan, if you hear me, just please open your mic and just speak. Let me recognize you.
So,
Okay, Roy, I think you look very tired. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, give Jagan. He already told me, informed me that he's already logged in. I don't know what's the problem. He has a weak internet from his side. So you can switch off your camera, Roy. You guys.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir.
So, do you have a question?
Morning. I apologize. I just joined because I was in another work. I just joined. I apologize.
Good morning. It is now 11 o'clock, but Cairo time. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, good. When is the lecture going to start?
Okay, guys, Sam, we are waiting. I think that you are following the Cairo time. We have finished with the first speaker. And
Yes.
Roy, just we are waiting Dr. Jagan to log in. I think he has faced a lot of problems because he's joining us from Saudi Arabia. I don't know. He told me he's already in, but I think he has a weak internet.
So, okay, so when do you always start, according to Cairo time, for example, at 9?
No, the first presentation was already finished. That is like 1 hour 20 minutes ago. You will get the recording, Isam, no problem.
Yes, please, yeah.
Yeah, of course. We'll share the feedback link, and then we'll share everything, the PowerPoint if possible, the recording. Anyone who wants to share the PowerPoint will share it with the audience.
I will send you my email right now in the chat box, okay?
There is no need to send your email, but if you wait for Jagan, in 40 minutes, we'll share the feedback link, so you will get your email from the feedback.
Okay, thank you so much.
If you don't mind. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you for being supportive and helpful.
No, we are. Thank you for people in Egypt. Okay, Javis, do you have a question? Javis? I think Roy has already left.
Sir, could I get feedback link? Sorry.
Please, could you wait just for the second speaker?
Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Hello, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Dr. Jagan, wait, please, wait. I asked the moderator, please, could you please find Jagan in the chat, in the list, so we can change his role into a presenter? Okay, wait. Okay. Yes, please. Could you do it? Could you do it, Michelle? If you find him, just make him a presenter if possible. Okay, Jagan, let's wait because I could not find you. I don't know, maybe from live laptop. I'll try to use the desktop to find you and then change your role into presenter, so you will be able to share. Yes.
Yeah, I am
now,
able to.
Now you are presenter. Thank you, Michelle.
Yes, yes.
Please, could you please share your PowerPoint slides?
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm really sorry about what has happened with my computer today.
Could you please share? Now we
Yeah,
can share.
I am sharing. Okay.
I think that the internet is very weak from your side. Guys, can
Maybe,
you see the point? Myself, I could not share it. I could not see it. Okay, moderator can help me if you can see the.
My internet is very weak. I must admit that today.
Okay, guys, our university provides only, Microsoft Teams. I do. Yeah,
okay.
we're not using Zoom.
Faisal, could you share my PPT if you can?
Okay, I will do my best to share it from
It's
my side.
taking too long
Please,
to
I will
open
give you 30
here.
minutes because you were late. I will give you 30 minutes for your presentation. Please try to hurry up. Okay. Then we'll leave 5 minutes for questions. Because people. Okay. Okay, let me try. Okay, I will try to share your PowerPoint from my side. Okay.
Could you see my screen now?
Okay, wait. Okay, now I'm sharing now.
I did share it.
You did share it? Okay. If you did share it.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I will stop
I think you can see mine now.
Yeah, okay. It takes time from your side.
Yes, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Okay, just I will introduce you very quick. Dr. Jagan Mohan Rao, Assistant Professor of English working in Ashakra University, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He holds a PhD in English language teaching from Kakatiya University, India. He has been teaching in various colleges, universities in India and abroad in Saudi Arabia for 20 years or more than 20 years and a half. He has taught English for technical students, business English, soft skills, ESP, TOEFL, IELTS, GRE, spoken English, literature, and general English. Currently, he's teaching sociolinguistics, teaching methods and basic language skills in Ashakra University, main campus. His main his research interests include speaking, listening skills, forensic linguistics, educational psychology, educational technology, and learning disability, etc. The mic is yours. As I told you, I will give you 30 minutes. Just please try to. The mic is yours.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time. And okay, so most of us are in times of uncertainty. Like just now, we had one experience where internet connectivity is always a question, an unpredictable thing for all of us. So we are again sailing in the same boat, dealing with many uncertainties. Okay, thanks to Corona, that has connected everyone throughout the globe, especially teachers. Okay? Teachers are able to connect in exploiting every possible technology that is available, sometimes free of charge, sometimes at a fee. Right. So I have my presentation is very simple one, not heavy with a lot of technical terms, technology, and
Jagan,
prepared.
Please check with your voice. The voice is not clear.
Oh my God.
You might use headset or it's
yeah, I am using my earphones.
Yeah, it's okay. It's very okay now.
Now, okay, right. So most of us know what online teaching is, and I have nothing new to teach or say anything about it. But it is a reminder. It is an introspection kind of. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, please.
Yeah, because I get some notifications and messages about my voice. All right. So most of us are aware of what online teaching is. I can't see the chart, but okay, I would like to know how many years of experience do you have as online teachers? Okay, maybe everyone has become a expert, I must say. Expert is someone who is expert in technology, and lecturers I call because we have started becoming lecturers using technology. So these are what I happily call. All right. So we know what synchronous teaching and asynchronous teaching. Synchronous is real-time teaching where the teacher and students have meet each other or meet online using real-time situations, experiences. While asynchronous is like you send them an assignment and they do these assignments at their own convenient time. All right. Okay. So this online teaching has blessed us with two important things. One is students become more active and reflective learners, and because the teaching has become student-centric now, and they can play a better role and a stronger role, active role than the teacher, because sometimes they choose what study. Therefore, they become active and they also reflect on what they are learning. Students and teachers engage in learning using technology. So, and both are becoming very active and they are learning a lot by sharing things. Right. So, Feinberg says online learning is most effective when delivered by teachers who are experienced. So, your experience teaches better. Okay, therefore, the more you are experienced, the better you teach your students. So, two approaches to online learning. One is synchronous learning and asynchronous. Just a moment ago I discussed this one, and you have examples like it's real-time instruction via internet. It typically involves tools like live chat, audio and video conferencing, data application sharing, shared whiteboard, virtual hand raising. So these are some of the tools available when you use synchronous learning. And examples for asynchronous are emails and threaded discussion, news groups, bulletin boards, file attachments. So most of us are always in a dilemma whether or which particular software to use. Most institutes have developed their own learning system, learning management system like LMS. So for us, our university provides us with an LMS program, a platform where we do everything. We do teach, we do assessment, we do grading and everything. So that is how every university, every institute has its own course software. And some teachers, out of their personal interest, and professional interest of creating a lot of new courses, new softwares, because technology is so much available so much that everyone can exploit it easily. Now, what are the advantages of learning online? Like I said, student-centered learning, collaborative learning. Students can come together and they learn together, share things, what they learn from teacher and other sources, resources. Right. Easy access to global resources. When I am in the class, okay, I'm in a physical class, I was teaching. Yes.
I think, can you follow the chat box? What's written in the chat box? They say something about the voice.
Yeah, I can see that, but do you find any disturbance in my voice?
From my side, it's okay. I can hear you, but sometimes there are some pauses. Yeah, some pauses.
Okay.
Now it's okay. It's very okay now, but.
All right. So, right. So, from time to time, it is getting disrupted. Maybe, again, we have to bear with the issues like these. I'm sorry for that. Okay, right. So we can access during this online teaching and learning. You can, yes.
Yeah, please continue. Hello? Please continue.
Okay, yeah. So you can access global resources. See, while I was in the class, my physical class, I was teaching Saudi students, and I wanted to draw a boat, a ship. So I could learn from them what it is called in Arabic, but I could not draw it. Now, the same ship I can show them by copying and pasting on my PPT, okay, from Google Images. So that is how technology helps us learn and teach in a very cool manner, a very comfortable manner. Experiential learning through multimedia presentations, accessible for non-traditional students. Most students are getting used to modern gadgets from their early childhood. So for such students, for such kids, teaching online and learning online is always a blessing. Now, it also draws the attention of the students because they learn the fun way of learning online. Right. So now, what are the advantages of teaching online? So most of us are lucky now to because our physical activity, many Asian classrooms, the student number is always more than 60, especially in the private schools and the universities. You have to move around and do a lot of physical movements, and you can avoid that one. And sometimes, especially, what I find interesting is I need not go to each student looking at their desks, because they keep their desks. I mean, they keep their mobiles in their desks and play video games and some other chatting. They do a lot of chatting and other things. But now when the mobile is within their hands, within their reach, you need not suspect or you need not do that extra effort now. Okay, so this is what I find the most advantageous thing for me, and it offers the opportunity to think about teaching new ways. I can do a lot of, I can cultivate myself. I can incorporate a lot of new things while I teach my students. Last a month ago, I was teaching my students social linguistics, where I was teaching AAVE, Afro-American Vernacular English. So I could show them a video of how AAVE is practiced, is used by the natives. So this is not possible in a physical class. So this is one advantage I exploited recently, and I do a lot of such things to comfort my students and make them learn in a very easy manner. So expand the reach of the curriculum, and the teacher has the authority and the liberty to expand a little more. See, I am given one subject and I can add to it a little more that I fancy teaching. Okay, so while teaching social linguistics again, I personally felt like adding discourse analysis and pragmatics, which have been fancy names for me for nearly a decade. So I am able to incorporate these courses, okay, because I am allowed, okay, which is not possible in a physical classroom, because in physical classroom you have to go by these courses allotted and described, and you have to finish the course within the given time. So whereas this is a difference here. Right. So professional satisfaction, you can enjoy your personal space, okay, and you can create your own courses, and you can encourage students with a lot more activities, and instructor convenience. So the instructor is always at his own convenience. Okay, he can utilize his personal space and professional space. So while dealing with the courses and the students. So what are the challenges of teaching online? So most teachers like me are not familiar. I've been very computer okay, until 2 years ago. Now I am able to learn, but it took me a lot of time to adapt myself to the environment, online environment. So this is again a challenge plus a blessing. Okay, it says survival of the fittest. If you want to survive, you should be the fittest one to suit the environment, to match the requirements and the needs of the teaching learning process. Capacity to use the medium to its advantage. So you have to adapt yourself, otherwise it becomes a challenge unresolved. So being available to the students on an extended basis electronically. So sometimes we may not possibly, all right. So we may not possibly allocate or spend time with students electronically because of your personal commitments or your personal lifestyle, or you are engaged with other things. But you know, at the end, I am going to talk to you about how to spend time and spare time for students. Right. So providing quick responses and feedback to students. So we are always, okay, no, it's not always possible, but make sure that you are available for students to give them feedback, because feedback is definitely a reinforcing thing, and it helps them learn a lot. Right here, okay, good teaching, preparing. Now, here comes the core of my presentation. Preparing to teach online. So when you are preparing, okay, do not think that you are teaching, okay, somebody virtually, but treat your students as human beings, like in your physical classroom. Good teaching is always good teaching. A good teacher should always remain a good teacher, irrespective of the environment. It may be physical or online. So experienced online instructors stress that teaching online is less about mechanics, but more about effective educational experience. So the more you keep in mind what you're going to teach and how impactful your teaching is, that the more you enjoy it and the students learn from it. So what are the qualities? So let's introspect if we are good teachers, or if we are successful online teachers, or what it takes to become a better online teacher. So I made this presentation some 6 months ago, wanting myself or asking myself if I can become a successful or better online teacher. So from that, this idea generated, and I made this presentation. I made this PP. Actually, Oman Ibris gave me this opportunity to showcase what I have been through and what I have prepared for myself. All right. So a successful teacher is one who provides a safe climate for their students by providing reassurance and support to new online learners. So you make your students comfortable and give them the space they require and pace they require. It's not just space, but it's also the pace that matters. All learners are not quick learners. You give them a kind of assurance that they can learn through, they can I see some of the participants are more interested in feedback forms than attending this. Anyways, I'm sorry to
feedback form. I will share it, and I will share it. Okay.
Yes, feedback is what, okay, it is the responsibility of the organizers. Please keep in mind, okay, they do their best, okay? So need not say, it may not be the right time, but Faisal has been a great help to me. Last night, he tutored me on how to use these teams. Okay, please, okay, let's honor his hard work and his team's hard work. Okay, let's not be in a hurry to ask him for these things. Right, I'm sorry. Okay, right. So this good student, the successful teachers, online teachers invite student input. So the feedback, they always receive feedback because based on their feedback, you get a lot of inputs, and you can change your attitude towards teaching, and you can always change the curriculum, the course you make. So they give frequently individualized feedback using a variety of communication tools. So the teacher is conscious of each student, okay, and the personal feedback definitely gets into their person, and it helps them a lot. Okay, and maybe most of us have this doubt whether we can still be a good teacher. Yes, because you talk to them in person, call them, or you can arrange. Okay, you can have a get together if available. If all of some time ago, I was teaching spoken English online, and all my students. I invited all my students where we could talk to each other, and that allowed us, okay, to get a physical feedback, okay, in the form of in-person feedback. So the successful teachers, online teachers, help students connect with one another. So they group the students so that the outcome is always the best. So now, principles of good practice in teaching online. All right. So encourage contact between student and faculty, okay, and talk to what academic agenda is, what the institution you're working is expecting from you and the students. Develop reciprocity and cooperation among students, teaching students to work productively with others. Encourage active learning, doing and thinking about learning process. Give prompt feedback. Feedback is the greatest thing because we cannot see the students. Sorry? Yeah. So, especially online, your students' feedback will help you in a great way. So do not hesitate to ask for feedback, because that helps you become a better teacher. Now, there are 8 important principles of good practice. So emphasize time on task by providing repeated, useful, productive, guided practice. Communicate high expectations and encourage students to have high self-expectations. Respect diverse talents, and if any student comes out with any innovative ideas, encourage them so they feel motivated and they think that they are important to the class. Right. So include well-organized course. So your course should always be the best that caters to the needs of the students as well as the institute. Okay, these are 8 important principles we must keep in mind. Right. So now, when you're preparing your students to online learning, clarify computer skills. So in the initial stage itself, give them instructions like on how to use the computer. Okay, maybe most of our students are very much well aware of how to use them, but because you are like I am facing some glitches today. Usually I use Zoom to teach my students, and sometimes Google Meet. But today, unless I had the opportunity, unless Mr. Faisal helped me, I would not have learned how to use this one. Okay, despite all his efforts and help, I was late today. Okay, yeah. So explain the differences in learning online versus learning in a traditional classroom. So make sure that they understand the differences between physical class and online class. And it takes a lot when you are online, and the behavior system changes because students keep their mic or keep their gadgets open and move around, and they may not concentrate. So you need to keep calling them. Okay? Then when you call them repeatedly, they are more attentive. Okay? So I do it most of the time, because here in Saudi Arabia, most of my students do not open their videos. Okay, so maybe it is, you have to respect the culture as well, okay? Because if the students are grown up, if they are adults, you should not ask them for such things like opening or turning on their videos without their permission. Okay, if they're okay, then go on. Otherwise, respect their decision, respect their privacy. That's more important. And clarify expectation, what your university or what your school is expecting, and remind students of frequently about the course expectations. Now, the teaching challenges, we have to deal with a lot of challenges like culture, like religion, like mother tongue, and other than these, we have always the technical issues that always pop up, and you never know how to deal with them. All right. So, right. Structuring an online course and creating community, facilitating discussion. These 3 important things are go into teaching challenges. Okay, which I discussed now. Okay. Now, how to structure your course. Course planning is important, and course organization, communication. Because Faisal has alerted me, so I'm moving it a little faster. Okay, and we can discuss it. Okay, we can discuss these things, and most of these things are very much common for all of us. We are facing them. We are dealing with these things on a daily basis. Okay, and the school year comes to an end almost this month. So this presentation will help us start a better, a newer, a more motivating school year next year. That's my idea. Right. So your course planning.
Jagan, you have 5 minutes more, please. Yeah. You have 5 minutes.
Yes. You can see how many slides are left. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm almost done. Okay. Thank you for the time. Yeah. Reminder. Okay. So course planning is, this is what I want upon, because in our regular or traditional classroom, physical classroom, you have a whole book to teach. But here, you can cull up, you can cherry pick what matters to the students and what generates interest, what motivates interest. You can also add some activities which you are not able to do it in the physical class. So that is the beauty of online teaching. And when you are preparing your course, make sure that each activity attracts the attention of the students. And course organization. Okay, so like you say, like we know, there is a beginning. There is, because in the last semester you ended at some level, and you want to carry forward, and so give some introduction, or give some kind of talk back kind of thing, and add what you have already taught to them in the previous semester, and carry it forward in your new course. So that becomes a bridge, okay, that adds more meaning, because a semester long break will definitely or add a lot of gap, and they may forget things that they studied the previous semester. Yeah, communication. So course planning, develop your course before the semester begins. So keep in mind, when you are allotted, okay, your courses, please start working on them. Okay, that helps you, okay, map your course, organize your course, allow flexibility. Sometimes you have 8 units, okay, allotted, and make it flexible, that you can do it in 5 units. Okay, you can connect them. You can merge them in case of any untoward incident or any unexpected happenings. Okay, occur. Course organization, and chunk the syllabus into sections, as everyone knows it. Break assignments into chunks with touch points. Provide due dates for assignments. Students are very eager to know when they have to submit their assignments. So make sure and be a little strict about this thing, okay, because students should not go so lenient, right? Provide multiple opportunities for graded activities. Okay, don't be so strict about these options. Okay, allow them the privilege and liberty to exercise options or choices. Give credit for participating. Each participation is very important, and encourage the student to participate, and tell them that you're going to grade their participation. So communication, like I said, communication is very important, and go along, talk to the students. You are, like in many teacher training schools, we are taught to be yourself, but you are not yourself anymore. You cannot be yourself anymore, because you are a part of the learning teaching process. So communicate everything with the student, so that they are clear about what you're expecting and what you're planning. Okay, so usually before I teach, okay, I start my class, I share my PPT with students, so that they can have a look at it. Yeah. So create a community, student to student interaction. So these are very important, and the tone is very important at the end. Okay, you cannot be so authoritative. Okay, you should be a little friendly sometimes, but not at the cost of your personal esteem or self-esteem. So keeping these things in mind, let us call it a day. And thank you, Faisal. Thank you, Ibri, Oman, for the help.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jagan, for really excellent, informative, amazing session. Because I know that because you're familiar with using Zoom, and now it's very new to. I mean, they're not familiar with using Microsoft Teams.
Yes.
But it's okay. It's not from. We cannot decide on the connection. I know that you maybe are living in the border. And you have bad connection,
yeah.
But we'd like to say a big thank you for you. And guys, now if you have questions, please. I already shared the link for feedback. Just please, if you have questions for Dr. Jagan, please, can you raise your hand? We'll give 5 minutes for questions. Yes. Please, if you have questions, comments. You can raise your hand, and I think if you stop sharing, it's better. And then you can see what's written in the chat box.
Yeah.
Guys, please, if you have questions, you can write in the chat box, or yes, I think Khalid. Khalid, right?
The word questions is a too big word for me, but okay, I like to have some interaction, okay, and your opinion about what I have discussed.
Question, I think there's someone raised. I think Khalid, can you please unmute yourself? Please?
Yes.
Unmute the mic.
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yes, I want to ask him a question about the naturality of handwriting if we use the online technique. Which one do you prefer? To use type computer techniques or to have a copy and send it by mobile phone, for example, especially in the elementary school as a result of the COVID? Which one do you prefer?
Yes. Okay, that's a wonderful question, Khalid. So I prefer student write the thing, write their answers or responses and take a picture and send it to the teacher. Because when you are texting, when you're typing, everything is available. You are not using anything because sometimes you have auto correction facilities. So, and when you write, you can focus. You can be, most importantly, you are mindful of your spelling, your handwriting, your spacing. So I prefer handwritten assignments sent as pictures to the teacher. So at every level, if possible, if the questions are short, okay, the short questions are given as assignments, I would prefer the students write, okay, and take a picture. So
okay, thank you, Dr. Jagan.
Yeah.
There is a question from, okay, I think Muhammad, and then we move to Isam. Muhammad, can you hear me? Isam, please wait us. We have Muhammad first. Muhammad, if you don't mind. Muhammad Yassin. Muhammad Yassin, can you hear me? Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Yes, Marhaba.
Thank you, Rao. Thank you, Sir Rao, for good lecture. Please, what is the important activity, synchronous activities or asynchronous activities?
So it depends on the time. Okay? If you can delay your assignments, or if the student and teacher are not online together at the same time, okay, you can use asynchronous. Okay? And if both are available online, okay, synchronous is the best one. Okay, because you get the immediate feedback. The teacher can understand how the students are able to understand. And if they have any issues, the teacher can resolve them then and there. Am I clear to you, Mr. Muhammad?
Isam, please.
Yes. Okay, my question is regarding, for example, the lack of interest of the students while learning or while studying online. So I think that we are teaching online nowadays because of the pandemic. So we are facing a lot of challenges during the online classes. One of them is the lack of interest, or the students feel bored very quickly. Maybe it's at the beginning of the class, or just the students are used to being absent from classes because of boredom. So what engaging activities or effective engaging activities would you like to recommend us to use to engage our students during the online classes?
Yes, okay. So pick up the activities that interest them. For example, last semester I was given a course called speech. Initially, to break the ice, I collected from Google Images the pictures of Holy Kaaba, the pyramids of Egypt, the desert, the camel, and the palm trees. So, and I asked them to come up with their own write-up. So they really enjoyed it. And they not only wrote, but also spoke about them. they came up with a lot of ideas. Okay? They added some ideas, okay, about these things, because these are very common among themselves, among the Saudi students. For example, like a camel, okay, and they continue talking more than what I expected. One said, "Doctor, I have 40 camels." Okay, so that pleased me very well, because when you know that activities are close to them, close to their heart, they definitely come up with more ideas. So similarly, dates and the palm trees, and okay, the Riyadh Tower, Kingdom Tower in Riyadh. So everyone was excited to talk about it, and ATM, Saya, stuff. Okay, these are things. Okay, they really Mandi. Okay, Faham. These are things they really do it every day, do them every day. So such things, such activities will definitely lure them or attract them, and they get them into activities.
Okay. What about the assignments, for example? Yeah, and if we give the students assignments, they don't show, for example, interest in doing them during the online sessions, but during the face-to-face, for example, you can find that the students are more interested in working either at home or at school. So how can we deal with the lateness of assignments or not doing the assignments during the online classes or sessions?
Yes, okay. You know, one thing the teacher have is marks, grades. So attract them with the grades, okay? And whoever presents or sends you the assignment, appreciate them in the class, and this appreciation go a long way, and it gets them into doing their assignment, okay? And reward them, okay? By motivating them, by calling them, by repeatedly telling the other class that Mr. Faisal is the first one to do the assignment, and I give him 10 out of 10. So this motivates them, and also help them if the assignment is a little critical or difficult. Give them some resources. Okay, that helps them. So students may not be able to decide on which resource to resort to. So you can just help them with some links, web links, okay, websites, or some YouTube videos that definitely help them ease their work, and they come up with the assignments in time.
Yes, sure. We use a lot of other applications and websites. For example, Nearpod, we use it, and Google Classrooms and so on. Google Forms, we use too many things to attract the students to do their assignments on time and to submit them on time. Thank you for clarification.
Yes, and remember one thing. We need to keep in mind that you are not the only teacher they are facing every day. So they start their day at 9 o'clock, let's say, and you may be the last one at 12 o'clock. Okay, so keep in mind that you are not the only teacher they are facing, and give them some space. Understand, ask them if they have any other assignments due, okay, for the day, for the week, based on which you program or you allot your assignment. That helps them, that comforts them. First thing is, students should not feel threatened by the idea of assignment. So they should go home, or they should come back with a happy note. Okay? They should embrace your assignment, okay, in a very happy mood, in a happy note.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Assam. Thank you, Jagan. There is a question, Jagan, in the chat box. I can just I'm going to, okay. How is it challenging to keep concentration of students during online? I think this is the...
Yeah, okay. So I find, okay, because we are used to teaching, okay, for nearly 6 hours a day, okay, sometimes, okay. Now, luckily, online teaching has also an advantage that your class lasts an hour or two, okay. So, and to keep track of, okay, always, what I always do is I have the list of students for each class. I keep their list ready with their university IDs and full names, okay? And I have columns meant for their participation, their attendance, okay? And whenever they come, okay, I just, okay, ask them, okay, any questions, and then I get them doing some activities. So online is more advantageous than physical class. Okay, you can pay more attention because the time time is very much limited here to 1 or 2 hours. Not more than 3 hours. Okay, I have 9 hours a week. Okay, so I teach. I give 3 hours class, 3-hour class a day. So I work for 3 days. Okay. And the remaining days I keep thinking about new resources and all. So this attention is not at all a barrier for a successful teacher, a teacher with commitment, who expects the welfare of the students. Yes.
Okay. I think moderators, any other questions for Dr. Jagan?
Yes, please.
I think moderators, could you help me if any other questions, please? I think no. Yeah, moderators, can you help me? Any other questions that in the chat box? Okay, Arturo, you can present with us if you don't mind. I would like, because you present with us face to face, so maybe it will be a chance for us to present with us online, if you don't mind, Dr. Arturo. Okay, guys, I think it's time now. Okay, they asked about the PowerPoint. I think, share with me PowerPoint. I will share the PowerPoint, the certificate, the recording just next week. Some of the speakers for copyright, they were not going to share their PowerPoint. Okay, so if any speaker share with me the PowerPoint, I will share with you by email. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Jagan, for, I know that you have teaching classes and maybe you cancel some of them to come and present with us. I really appreciate your precious time. And really, yesterday I enjoyed the time with you for training. Yeah. You know, we keep learning. You know, it's mutual learning. Yes. I learned a lot from you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Jagan. And just I want to tell you, for next week we have Professor Claire from USA next Thursday. So please, I will try to share, invite you by email. Thank you, Dr. Jagan. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, all the participants, for your patience and your kindness and love. Okay, you stayed so long waiting for me to come back. Thank you so much. Ramadan Mubarak to everyone.
Thank you, teachers.
God bless Oman. God bless everyone.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye, take care.
Okay, bye-bye, Jagan. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So, guys, I want you to request you to leave the chat, to leave the meeting. If you already filled the form, please try to fill it once. We will share everything, the PowerPoint, the recordings, and the certificate, okay? Within a week or less. Okay, guys? Okay, I'm going to end the meeting. Just I need to download the, I want to download, okay, guys. Before that, I'll stop recording.